there, this is Susanna Dolfer at the Sewing Palace in Helena, Montana, and welcome to November's Saturday Sampler Sew-Along, Double Dozen by Kaye England. This month we will be focusing on block number 3, double pinwheels, pictured here in this beautiful traditional colorway, and here in our bright modern colorway. For this block, you are going to want a rotating cutting mat, a pressing mat, the 1.5 by 3 inch Flying Geese ruler from Block Lock, the 3 by 6 inch Flying Geese ruler from Block Lock, and the 6.5 inch half square triangle ruler from Block Lock. You're also going to want flatter, best press, and iron. I really like this little clover iron. There are no steam holes on the bottom, which when it comes to pressing small pieces is crucial. You're also going to want your favorite ruler. For me, it's this Creative Grids ruler. I like this 1/4 inch marker. It allows me to cut apart my Flying Geese and my half square triangle pieces much more easily. Grab your Frixon pen, and now we're going to take down some numbers. The double pinwheel, as you'll notice, we have changed a lot of the measurements. In fact, I think we've changed them all. The reason that we've done that is because we're going to be using the Block Lock no waste flying method. Go ahead and pause the video and copy down what you need to. But you'll also find it on this handy chart, which a link for this is going to be in the description of this video. You'll also be able to find it on our website, thesewingpalacebernina.com. The Block Lock no waste method is what we'll be using for our Flying Geese. We'll be using 2 sizes, the 1.5 by 3 inch finished and the 3 by 6 inch finished. Let's start with this 1.5 by 3 inch. You'll need to cut 4 small squares at 2 5/8 inch, pictured here in the red. The red will become your sky behind your goose. You'll also need to cut 1 large 4.5 inch square, pictured here in the gold. This will become the goose. Be sure to keep this chart in mind when you're selecting colors for your Flying Geese. Now let's look at our block. In our finished block, you'll see right away that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 large geese and 8 smaller geese. 4 in this medium colorway and 4 in this dark, forming the gorgeous pinwheel of the center of our block. To do this, we're going to start this smaller block, the pinwheel. We're going to cut a large block. This is the 4.5 inch block from our no waste method. We're also going to cut 4 smaller 2 5/8 inch blocks. These will form the sky. We'll take 2 of our blocks, line them up in the corner, and we'll draw a line from corner going through each of the points. Then we'll take this to our machine. We'll sew 1/4 inch along each side, and then we'll cut them on the line to separate them. You'll end up with 2 of these units. After you've cut them apart, your initial response as a quilter is going to be to press to the dark side. I highly recommend you don't do that. If you press to the dark side in this situation, your Block Lock will not lock in place. You will need to push the sky up, press the sky up and away, so that you end up with this beautiful heart shape. From there, you'll take another one of your 2 5/8 inch squares, place it in the corner, draw your line, sew 1/4 inch on each side, and then cut to separate. You'll end up with 2 of these units. From here, we're going to take this and square it up using our 1.5 by 3 inch Flying Geese ruler. Simply wiggle it into place till it locks, zip, 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 and you'll end up with this beautiful finished Flying Geese. Now you're going to repeat this with the medium color background. You'll take your 4.5-inch square, you'll place two 5/8" squares in the corners, draw your mark, so 1/4 inch along each side, cut to separate, and end up with 2 units. You'll press this guy up, you'll add another unit to the corner, draw your mark, so 1/4 inch on each side of that mark, cut to separate, and then you'll end up with 4 of these units, which you can then square up using your lock ruler. See how perfect that is? It's just gorgeous, and it makes sewing so easy. Now that we have practiced it a couple of times, I think you're going to be an old hat at this. We're going to try it with the 3/6" flying geese. You're going to want your large square to be 7.5" square, and then you will cut 4 4 1/8" squares. You'll then take those 4 1/8" squares, repeat the process that we just did, put the smaller squares in the corner, line them up, draw a line through all 4 points, so 1/4 inch on each side, and cut them apart. You'll then have 2 units. Those 2 units, you will place your remaining 2 squares, 1 in each corner, and you'll put your line through the corners, so 1/4 inch, and cut them apart. You'll then have 4 raw units that you can square up using the 3/6" flying geese. Now let's take a quick look at our half square triangle. On our pattern, you'll see that it says 3 7/8" squares. That's a little too close for my comfort. We have included 4 1/4" strips in your kit. So let's just go ahead and make it easy and cut 4 1/4" square blocks. We'll do 2 of each one. Lay that out, right sides together. Draw a corner to corner line, so 1/4 inch on each side. Cut along the line to separate. You'll end up with these units here. You'll have 2 of them. When you do that, you want to make sure you do press to the dark side on this one. If the dark side is towards you and you've pressed towards the dark side, you'll be able to line that up very easily with your block lock. See how it just falls right into place? If you can read it and it's pressed correctly, you've done it right. So now we'll square up. You'll zip, slide it across till it measures 3.5, zip, and then you'll have a perfect 3.5" square. Isn't that just gorgeous? I love that. Oh, I love using these tools. They just make our job so much easier as a quilter. Now we're going to go ahead and put our block together. If you'll notice on our diagram here, the way we're going to do that is we're going to sew these 2 flying geese units together first. Then we'll join these 2 flying geese units to this half square triangle unit. And then we'll sew this unit to our 3/6" flying geese. Now, one thing I've noticed when I put these units together was I had a hard time when it came to sewing them, because this little knob right here will actually cause your seam to go awry. So when you sew them together, be sure to sew with your medium color goose up. That way when you sew, it won't cause it to go out of alignment.
Susanna, what foot are you using?
I'm using the Bernina 37 foot. I actually find that it's my favorite. I do a lot of craft sewing at home as well as quilting, and so that guide on the side of the 57 sometimes gets in my way, and I just prefer the 37. I also have this clearly perfect angle here because I like to make sure that I'm lining up as far away as possible. When you have small children running around your house, it's a lifesaver. So, you see, they lined up perfectly and I didn't have to fight it every step of the way. And there is my beautiful finished unit. Now my beautiful finished unit is ready to sew into my block. I'm going to put it here so you can see how it goes in, and I will sew a half square triangle to it. Then I will sew a 3 by 6 inch flying geese to the top. When I sew these 4 units together, I'm going to make sure to press the seam allowance to one side on this one and then to the other side on this one. The reason I want to do that is because when I sew them together, I can nest them beautifully, and then I can splay them out to reduce the bulk in the middle. And there it is, our beautiful finished double pinwheel block. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. By the way, if you're wondering why I'm teaching class in November, it's because Jenny and Dawn have gone off to Quilt Market. I wonder what they're bringing back to me. But that will be another video, so stay tuned.